So on the latest blog, the monthly tip that I send out through the Dharma Center mailing list, I talked about this concept of having to believe. And if you missed it, you can go to my book website, turiyadara.com, and find it on the blog page. But we all, in order to exist in this world or operate in this world, we all have to believe in something. There's something that we are believing in, and that belief is what basically creates a connection to our bodies, to this world, to each other. And most of the time these beliefs are just conditioned. They're just given to us from the people who raised us, from society in general. And sometimes these beliefs are helpful. They provide us what I would call a positive support. Like, I know my meditation practice and my belief in this pathway of Trikaya Buddhism has been, for me, a very positive belief and support. Especially early in my practice, my teacher revealed this incredible golden light, and that made it much easier to believe because I got to experience it firsthand. But then when I wasn't in his presence, I still had that belief that enlightenment is real, it's possible, and it is within all of us right now. It's just a matter of recognizing it. It's not that we have to do anything to get to it. It's a matter of recognizing it. So, of course, as I continued to contemplate this concept of having to believe, I started looking at the world and being like, okay, well, what is the beliefs that people are holding on to that are creating so much suffering in this world? And as I looked deeper and deeper, I found that there's actually one intensely strong belief that is hugely destructive. And it's this belief of ownership. We've been conditioned and trained that we own things. And it's spread to every aspect of our life. It goes from, seemingly logical things of like, oh yes, I own my body. And you really don't. Within your body is a universe of microscopic communities. You can just look at the science of gut bacteria if you don't believe me. There's whole civilizations existing within this body. So to say that you own it is really a ridiculous idea. But yet we have this very strong, like you probably had a strong reaction when I said that. I'm like, wait a minute, no, of course I own this body. That shows you how much it's permeated into this society. And it's taken, through the centuries, it's taken on very horrific modes where there's the idea of owning other people, of owning the planet, which is equally ridiculous if we look at it. This whole concept of trying to own something, it takes us back to the chain of dependent origination of grasping and clinging. That's what ownership is. It's a grasping and a clinging to try and hold on to something that is impermanent, that's temporary, that's transient, that cannot be owned. Really, nothing can be owned. And I say that, and then of course there's people that'll be jump to this idea of collectivism. That, okay, well, I don't own anything personally, but our society, our own, the people in charge will own. And, that whole thing that doesn't work either, because now you still have this concept of ownership, of trying to grasp and cling over something that you can't hold on to. It's like trying to hold water with your open hand. It just pours through. But this concept is so deeply ingrained. And we even see it in the way we talk about relationships, and the way some people think about relationships is there'll be, the man will feel owned by the girlfriend until they get married, and then now the man becomes the owner of the wife. And it's just this really twisted way of clinging, of trying to control what cannot be controlled. And like I said, it's so deeply ingrained in every aspect of our society, even to the point where when we go to work for somebody and we're selling our time to do a specific job, there's still this attitude of, oh, well, from 8 to 5 they own me. Have you ever had that thought? Going to work, it's like, oh, yep, they can make me do whatever they want because they own me for that time. I sold myself to them. But that's an incorrect scene. And it leads to tremendous suffering. Because not only does it open the door to tremendous abuse, it also does something that might be a little harder to grasp. But if you continue contemplating it and looking at this concept of ownership, why do we buy into it? Like, why would anyone... It's a ridiculous thing, but how did it become so ingrained? So, of course, I had to keep looking and digging and being like, okay, why this doesn't make sense? What's the appeal? And the appeal is that if we are owned, if we belong to somebody or something, then there's a sense of protection. As children, we feel like we belong to our parents. They own us. And there was a time when parents would have children just so they could work, so they could keep the family farm, keep the family business going. That was the purpose of their children. And it probably still happens, unfortunately. But it's this benefit of that tribal, primal nature of belonging and protection. A long, long time ago, when we were still having to deal with out having much shelter, and we were wandering around in tribes, and if you didn't have the collective society, you wouldn't survive. So there is almost a genetic memory of feeling like, oh, I need to belong to something or else I'm going to die. And that seems to be the doorway that opens us to this believing in ownership. And then, of course, over the centuries, it has spiraled into the most horrific things that I have already talked about. So how, if we keep looking at it, and I bring it up because this is the age of illumination. So we are now seeing things much more clearly than perhaps we have in a century, maybe two. And this can be uncomfortable, painful. Say, the outrage, the how dare you. But in order to release that grasping, that clinging, we can't force anyone else to let go. But what we can do is look at how we ourselves as an individual are believing in this sense of ownership and how it's affecting our thought patterns and our support systems. Now, you can't just get rid of a concept. Concepts exist, they always do. But they change over time. They shift. So I have a proposal, which you can do with what you will. You might have a better idea. But instead of thinking, oh, I own this body, or I own these clothes, or I own this house, I own this land, think about it in terms of responsibility and partnership. It's like, oh, I'm partnering with these clothes and this scarf that's keeping me warm and decorating me. I have a home that I take care of that's on a piece of land that I also take care of. So there's the responsibility. A lot of people think, okay, I'm not going to own anything and therefore I have no responsibility. But that's not practical. It doesn't really happen, because even if you were super rich, you still own money. So you still have a responsibility. So if we can, in our own minds, in our own lives, start to shift that concept of ownership to one of reciprocal care. Of, oh, I take care, my clothes will take care of me and I will take care of them. My home, I will take care of it and it will take care of me. My relationships, I will take care of them by seeing the best in them, by trying to bring out the best in them and engage with people who bring out the best in me. And then it becomes this beautiful dance of growth and fulfillment and mutual aid and responsibility, as opposed to one person standing over another. The same with our jobs, with our work that we do. Instead of feeling like your boss owns you, or if you're the boss, that you own the employees, see how you can change that relationship into one of mutual benefit. And this is how change spreads, drop by drop. So if we can do this in our own minds, in our own lives, and start to change the belief surrounding ownership, that whole concept, where it takes on a whole new meaning of, instead of it being one of power over and domination, instead ownership means responsibility and mutual aid. I think I can see how in my own life, how that would change how I interact with the world around me, and maybe you can too, and perhaps it can spread and change how this whole world operates. Just a dream I'm going to throw out there and let you play with. And this is part of our practice, this contemplation. So don't stop with just these words that I'm saying. Chew on this concept and really start to notice the points where you either claim ownership of or ownership to, and see what that feels like and what does that really mean, and is it a belief that is actually supportive? Is it one of mutual respect, of responsibility, of mutual aid? Is it one that honors the wisdom of interconnection and of transience, of impermanence? We don't have to dominate and control. We can't. We like to fool ourselves and think that we can. That, if I just, get everything in the box lined up just so, then it'll all be good. But it's already all good. This world is beautiful, and so is every single person in it. So is every single being in it. But if we start to manipulate and control, then it becomes distorted. So again, contemplate what ownership is and how it's showing up in your life and in your mind. And see if you can transform it into a more beneficial belief, a more beneficial description. There was a time when on the path I'd be feeling lost, and then I would console myself by saying, I am one of Buddha's monks, and feel that sense of ownership that, I gave myself to the Buddha and to this path, and it made me feel safe. It also allowed me to abdicate responsibility for my own being. I say, I just belong to them, so I don't have to worry about it. So I see now how incorrect that was, how that was not actually helpful. It kind of provided a little sense of solace in the moment, but it created an infantile state instead of the childlike state of wonder and exploration. Or if we instead say, I'm following the Buddha's path. I'm exploring what my teachers have shown to me. And I might see what they saw, what they had pointed out, and I might see something else. I might see something even bigger and greater. To see how it changes if we let go of that clinging to being owned or to owning. So instead of it being this very small, fixed idea, it opens, it blossoms into this infinite world of possibility. But one of the practices that we can do when we meditate, last week I talked about cutting those energy lines, grounding out any energy you don't need any longer, feeling the purification energy from Vajrasattva filling us. Another preliminary practice we can do is to take a moment to simply honor all the teachers that have benefited us, and to imagine them above our head, and they're just sitting, practicing, and their years and years of practice of holding that doorway open into enlightenment benefit us. So before we meditate, let's just take a moment and I will tell you the names of some of my teachers as I pay homage to Rama, to Naropa, to Lopa, to Padmasambhava and Yeshi Sogal, to Bodhidharma, to Buddha Shakyamuni, the 21 Taras, to Vajrayogini and Prajna Paramita, and the formless Divine Mother. May you guide me so all of my thoughts are born from love, all my words are born from compassion, and all of my actions are born from wisdom. I thank you for the example you have set. And let's meditate with some Zazen music. I'll sit up nice and straight. It'll be 7 songs. So if you want to do the chakra meditation, you can do 2 songs on the navel, 2 songs on the heart, 2 songs on the third eye, and then for the last song, do the 108 lights of illumination, where you just take all of this beautiful energy and light that has filled your being through your meditation, and you shine it outward without putting any intention behind it. Just simply allowing light to be illuminated. So again, let's sit up nice and straight. Focus on the navel center for the first 2 songs, then the heart for the next 2, third eye, and then the final song. You might feel the crown chakra and your root chakra combined, like a filament of light in a light bulb, and just radiating outward. As you bow in gratitude, pull your subtle body in nice and tight around you. Thank you. Thank you for sitting with me. So as you work with this concept of ownership, try to see all the different layers of being. As I said, there are multitudes within you. All these colonies, microscopic civilizations within your own body, all working together in this miraculous fashion. All of these different aggregates of being, these 5 different aggregates that have all come together to form what you call you in this very unique, individual way. And then if we expand our view out, then we are one of those microscopic, what we call ourself, is one of these microscopic beings within multitudes of civilizations, all working together. And we don't own any of it, and none of it owns us. But there is a responsibility. There is a sense of personal sovereignty where we have to be responsible for our own being. But at the same time, we have to recognize that we are part of something much larger. There's this infinitely complex web within us and without us, happening all around. And if we follow the intelligent light that is within everything, then it is a beautiful dance. It's the divine Leela, the play of existence, and it's beautiful. But if we grasp and we cling and we try to control and dominate and force things, then it becomes suffering. It becomes horrific. And the challenge is that we're living in a world where there are millions and billions of people who are caught up in wrong view. They're caught in this conditioned concept of ownership, where they feel a sense of entitlement to own things, which is, like I said, if from my perspective, it's just a bizarre idea to even try to own anything. But we change the world by changing ourselves. It's just that the ocean tide, from high tide to low tide to high tide, it changes one drop at a time. It doesn't do it all at once. It's just one little drop turns and goes the other way. And then before you know it, it's like, oh, it's low tide. Look at all the cool formations. And then, oh, look, the tide's coming in. Wow, look at the beautiful waves. So as our world becomes more and more illuminated, and we see both the horrific things and the beautiful things more clearly. Remember your personal sovereignty as a responsibility to light, to following the Dharmic. And you'll feel it when you start to get caught in old habitual patterns that are not helpful. You'll feel that heaviness, that harm. And when that happens, which it will, don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge what's happening and look at what beliefs are supporting that behavior and see how you can change it at the root, how you can alter the belief. Because as I said at the very beginning of this, we have to believe in something. We have to. Otherwise, we're completely dissociated and there's no connection. And there's people who are caught in that too. But because we have to believe, and we're conscious and we're practicing this beautiful path, that means we can choose the beliefs that are going to serve not only us, but everyone else, all beings. And that in itself is a tremendous service. And I think that's ultimately what the concept of ownership can become, is when we say we own something, we are in service of it, to bring it, everything, to the best possible situation for all beings. So, just a thought. So again, thank you all for being here and sitting with me today.